Hey guys, Brad Pryor here with Grip Branded, hanging out with Chance Lewis.
That's correct.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
Your hat's throwing me off a lot. I can't want to say Jolly Fox.
Just kidding.
There we go. I didn't know if your name badge was up
I'm just
there.
covering up the bald. That's all I'm doing.
So, what the hell do you do?
First off, thanks for having me. What do? I do a lot.
I mean, I got a whole sheet worth of stuff here. So, you got a lot of
I
talking
can
to
give
do,
you
bro.
the summary real quick.
We don't need some. We got all day. So,
Work-wise, what I do now, I'll jump to this portion first. I'm an artist. I'm in artist management, and I manage mainly one band right now. They're called Caleb, Michael, and the Arrested. They're out of the Denton area. I've known Caleb for about 9 years, I guess, almost 10 years. Funny story is I was dating this young woman, my age, but she's young. And he was dating her daughter.
well, this is going to be a good podcast.
And it
Sorry.
only gets better from there.
I don't even want to know.
Anyway, like he'll tell the story just like I would, but we met. But before we met, like I was involved in church pretty heavily at Prestonwood. I was helping with a certain class of singles 2 ministry, and all I was doing was kind of organizing the class and kind of really just hoping anybody would show up. And so class was pretty big. But anyway, so she knew that I was involved in church, and she's like, hey, before you meet Caleb, give you a heads up, this is Taylor's boyfriend, and he literally just got out of jail. And I was like, cool, that doesn't bother, like, if he's a good dude and treats your daughter right, like, I would have zero problem with it.
Right.
Met him instantaneous, and whenever hopefully you'll get a chance to meet him as well, because when you do, he'll have that infectious smile and just infectious personality where he'll just, like, you feel like you've known him for years, instantaneous. And it was that kind of thing, and of course, Christine and her daughter were kind of eyeing us, making sure we're okay. And we snuck out to the backyard with what do you call it? A handle of bullet rye.
Ugh.
Hey, that stuff's good. It doesn't give you a hangover. Anyway, but we finished that sucker off between the two of us while passing the guitar back and forth in her backyard around a fire pit. Just he and I back there until like 3:30. I know we did annoy the girls, but we were having a good time just getting to know each other. I got to, see his passion for what he wanted to do in life. And it kind of it really opened my, I had met, heck, I've had family members in jail before, but it really opened my eyes up to, like, never judge a book by its cover, by what other people think. This kid was a solid dude and got caught up in the wrong thing. It wasn't even his fault, really. But anyway, so short story longer is about 3 years ago, back then it was just him, and then it worked into he and his brother, 2 brothers, singing together and playing, and they could harmonize like no other. And they were doing a lot of cover songs from like Shane Smith and the Saints, Zane Williams, Grady Spencer and the Work, like a lot of good Texas country acts. And anyway, and their harmonies were just amazing. And so I fell in love with his music and his style of singing and stuff. And fast forward to 3.5 years ago, his youngest brother had moved on, got married, had a son, cute son named Bennett. Anyway, and then, sorry, I'm trying to remember the whole story. Anyway, so they had the son, and then Caleb's like, hey, I'm getting an actual full band together. Would you be interested in managing us? I'm like, I know zero about the music industry, but sign me. No, just kidding. I was like,
But I got this. Hold my beer.
I literally, like, I think my first phone call was to Heather Anderson,
Yep.
who is a friend of ours.
Yeah.
She worked at the ranch at the time, and I'd known her, and she knew a lot of people in the industry. And so I was like, hey, if somebody can, either tell me to bail out now or to dive in, it would be Heather. She would always shoot me straight. So called Heather, told her what I was doing. She's like, oh, encouraged me to do it. And, even though I don't know music business, it's still somewhat of a business. And I guess she felt like I was dumb enough to do it. So anyway, I did. And so I came up full time. That's like 3.5 years ago. And ever since then, I've been managing the full band, which is Caleb, Michael, and the Arrested. And as of yesterday, I think these are yesterday's numbers. I just checked this morning, but we've gone from 0 monthly listeners to now 17,200 monthly listeners, which is I'm super proud of.
Oh, what period of time?
3.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's that 3.5 years. So they had nothing on Spotify when I first took over. Shortly thereafter, they uploaded "Water," which was recorded by another band lead, Holden, who's with the Weathered Souls. Mm-hmm. They toured around with like Shane Smith, with Whiskey Myers, a few years back, and somehow Caleb and him became friends. Like, yeah, I'll record "Water" for you guys. So he did, and they did a great job. Uploaded it. It took off because it's a very personal song to Caleb. It's about overcoming somebody close to him was an alcoholic, drug addict. So that's what it's about, overcoming those battles. But anyway, as I'm rambling, over the last 3.5 years, our listenership's gone skyrocketed over the last 6 months, especially. We've caught a lot of momentum. And in large part to just relationships, which a lot of people ask, kind of like what you did. You can look at my roster of life and say, gosh, he's been a swimming pool contractor. He's built a couple of homes in his life. He's done this, he's done that, which I am very thankful. I worked for the Texas Rangers for a short while, which was the highlight of my life. But through all those things, the common denominator in what I do is just people. Like, I love people. I love meeting them where they're at. I don't judge based off of anything other than the quality of their character.
Yep.
And relationships is where it's at for me. Networking, connecting people. I don't make any money connecting people.
No.
But that's okay. Like, I love...
You gain relationship based, though. And that way you can pick up the phone and you can call Heather and you can call this person.
Exactly.
And some of my relationships don't have nothing to do with what I do, but I have that source of being able to help somebody. And I love that, with doing that. So where did you start off in life? Where was you born?
So born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas. Very blessed because I love Fort Worth. Everything about it.
Best, by far, the best, biggest small town on earth.
100% where the West begins, right?
Yep.
And my parents were both born in Fort Worth. Both of my older siblings, 2 sisters, born in Fort Worth. Lived Fort Worth most of my life. Well, no, not anymore, but a lot of my life. And
so you had 2 sisters?
2 older sisters.
So you're the baby.
I'm the baby.
That explains a lot. You're the baby.
Yeah.
And 2 older. So what's it like being around 2 older sisters, being a baby?
You learn a lot about feminine stuff before you're supposed to. Not
Stuff
every
you probably don't want to know.
Not everything in the bathtub is a toy.
Yeah. Exactly where my brain went when you said that.
Rodney Carrington does a whole skit on this. It's hilarious. I was like, oh wait, I remember seeing something like that. That's awful. But my dad, Arvil, Arvil, worst name ever.
Arvil?
Yeah, it's a family name. He went by Wayne for obvious reasons.
Wayne?
So Arvil Wayne Lewis. Yeah, he's that dude. He actually just recently passed, I guess, November, right before Thanksgiving. But he and my mom started a swimming pool business back in 1972, before I was born. I'm not that old. Close. I was born in 77. But anyway, started a swimming pool business in 1972. They ran it together, and they were married that year as well, like before they started the business. And then my sister was born later that year. Actually, I just recently did the math. Math doesn't check out. Sorry, Mom and Dad. I know you're both past, but now I know. Anyway, but yeah, so swimming pool business is where I grew up, and I learned a lot just by being around my dad. And in high school, I was supposed to go to Eastern Hills High School, and I did for 9 weeks. And then saw a couple of incidents there, and me and my mom, dad talked like, hey, would you rather just do homeschool and not deal with that crap up there? And I was like, I'd miss all my friends, but I still see them at church all the time. So yeah, I'm good with it. Yeah. And I finished high school in 2.5 years. And it also allowed me enough time to work part-time for my father. Scraping walls of pools that have been gun-nighted, wetting down the gunite.
So you are building pools, not like a service.
Oh,
or y'all did service too?
No, we've never done service outright. We do it like after we build a pool, we'll service it for 2 to 6 weeks after to help train their staff, because those are like commercial pools that we do.
Gotcha.
Hotels, motels, multifamily, stuff like that. A few water park things we've done. But anyway, pool business is where it's at. So glorified ditch diggers, whole family. Funny thing is, I'm a third generation pool builder. So my mom's dad was a pool builder, my dad, then me. But also my mom's brother was a top salesman for Blue Haven for a long time, came to work for my dad. And then my dad's brothers, one of his brothers, his oldest, the middle brother, Jimmy, he came and sold with my dad. And then now he still is operating his own pool company in Joshua. That's where he's out of. Still doing a ton, and he's 80, early 80s, I think.
Residential?
He does residential, yeah.
I got you.
He's done a few commercial, but mostly residential. But, so glorified ditch diggers is what we are. We used to joke, like, college-educated ditch diggers is what we are. We embraced it, though. We loved it. My mom could literally draw before all these, 3D programs come out, she could draw, like, you were selling a pool upside down in 3D. Mm-hmm. She was that good of an artist. And, there was a couple doing it together. They would always go on pool calls together, which I think was a good asset to have, good kind of bag, if you will. Because husband and wife working together to share
and still be married
with another husband and wife, and still be married.
Yeah, that's the most important part.
There were some close calls.
Yeah. Because you're having to deal with the world too. Outside of what your normal marital problem would be, you're having to deal with problems on the job.
40. They were married 47 years, and my mom passed in 2018. And she would tell me sometimes, Chance, being married that long, like always praying for each other. Chance, the way that I pray for your dad is, Lord, take one of us. I don't care which one. My dad would always say, marriage is like a hot bath. Once you're in it, it's not so hot.
Yeah.
And, no, they truly loved and respected each other, and always found the common ground was their faith, and that is a legacy that I hope to leave to my kids. Even though that I've been married and divorced, but I hope to leave that to my kids if I happen to find somebody that is worthy to be called a step parent to my kids. So
awesome. You have kiddos?
I have 3.
Dang.
And it's same order: girl, boy.
Really?
20, 19, and 15. 16. He's now 16. Sorry.
You got the same age bracket I do. I have 21, 19, and I have twin girls that are identical, 17.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. they wrapped it all up. Whatever the boys didn't have, they got it all.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, but no, I love them to death. I'm glad I had girls because it changes your perspective on things in life.
Oh.
And I was raised by a single mom and a sister, so the bathtub deal was very familiar with me growing up. But I was the only male in the house, so. But yeah, I was kind of tuned up to what to expect. But when it's your daughter and it's your own blood,
completely different.
Makes you more of a man to me.
Oh yeah,
and a gentleman. What you would say around a female,
for sure.
Yeah. And I don't think people really realize it because I hunt with people and that haven't had daughters. I can tell by how they talk about females or how they are talking in front of a female.
Yeah,
it's a lot different than what I would say. And they're good people. They're nothing wrong with them. They just haven't thought what that would do to that little girl.
Harm. And it's like I was being a part of the band and stuff, helping those guys out. I'm exposed to a bunch of very immature joking, which is like your mom jokes. And they turn into once or twice they turn into your daughter jokes. I just kind of give them a look. It's like, yeah, you're right, my bad. But we all have fun with it. But it is a different perspective. I mean, you think you have a son who I absolutely adore, right? My first child was Andy, and actually I was spent the night at her place last night, and just it's an excuse to kind of spend some time with her. Get over to her place. I'll go grocery shopping for her and all that kind of. She's very well to do on her own, makes plenty of money, but it's just a way that I can get over there and kind of catch up on life and just spend some time with her. And I like doing it with her. Her sister lives in Longview and is a preschool teacher, and so I don't get to spend as much time with Drew as I wish I could. But
she's a blessed soul to be a preschool teacher.
Boy,
that's almost as bad as a 12 or 13-year-old. I don't know if I'd want to mess with that or the junior high part.
Oh, either way.
Because girls in junior high are
it's
mean.
a lose-lose either way. Yeah. And Drew is one of those. She's the middle child, so you can imagine the middle child personality, right? And thinking, oh my, she's going to murder somebody.
Yeah,
she's going to murder somebody. But she is. I'm very blessed. Their mother and I feel like if you ask Carly, that's my ex-wife, she'd probably say we didn't co-parent well, but I think we did.
Yeah.
Maybe she just parented well. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. She and I both, really pushed, our faith, not try to push onto the kids, but live out our faith in front of the kids. And all three kids are the sweetest things. Like I'm waiting for the other shoe to fall because I do not deserve such sweet kids. I have lived a life. And these kids are.
Isn't that weird though? Because I had a boy by another marriage, my oldest boy. Mm-hmm. She had my ex-wife second wife had. Well, I suck at being married, by the way. So obviously,
same, obviously.
But
I'm 0 for 1.
Yeah, 0 for 2. I'm gonna rub that in your face. But she had a boy that was like a year old when we met. So we were kind of cool just having the boys, and then things happened.
Yeah.
Twins came along, but me and my stepson, I call him my son, but are probably as close as my blood son. Because I didn't get a good opportunity to raise him. He was with his mom most of the time.
Sure.
If I had done things a lot different with her, I look back, we were both pretty young. Yeah. And a lot of immature things happened between us. But it was affecting him. Yeah. After separation. Sure. I feel like I could have made it better if I wouldn't have been such a hard ass on things or mean to her.
Of course.
Because how it is when you separate, you're like, whatever.
Yeah, it's almost like you want revenge immediately.
Right. Yeah. 100%. And and we both are the type person that's going to rub it in your face type people. Yeah. And I wish I would have, me being the 46-year-old person now, I look back and I'm like, I could have had a better relationship with him if I would have just eased off mama a little bit. Sure. Let us figure this out,
But man, that's a lesson. And I think that's something as long as you are open and share that with him even, I think that's something that you can't teach. It's just one of those things like, hey, here's a mistake I made. And if that, what are we here for if we can't share that with the kids? Like, hey, I made a giant mistake here. I know I made it harder on you. Can't take that back. But learn from that mistake, if you will. And that's something I too had to learn the hard way. I was, when we got divorced, I was 33, and I'm 47 now. And, she would, I believe Carly was doing what she thought was best for her. I think we both look back and regret all that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, a lot of blessings came out of that. A lot of good came from the bad that we created. But the good news is I got to share that same kind of story of like, hey, whenever I was going through a divorce with a buddy of mine who's going through a divorce, when I was going through a divorce, dude, I held on too tight. It pushed everything away or pushed her away. It created too much negativity, and it had to affect the kids.
Yep.
And they didn't. Fortunately for my buddy and his wife, they did not have kids, so that they didn't have that to worry about. But at the same time, when you're holding on to that much anger and desire to lash back, dude, at some point you gotta let it go. It eats at you.
Yeah,
I don't care what faith or what walk of life it's gonna eat at you.
I think if my business was a couple years old at that time, and obviously I had to pay her money.
Sure.
All that. I think of it that would create a lot of animosity with me because I started something from nothing, and I was having to turn around and refinance it back and pay her, which rightfully that's what I was supposed to do.
Sure.
Stay in Texas. But I think looking back, I think I was struggling so bad just to survive.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about relationships that are going to have to be together forever. I mean,
right.
As long as she's alive, I'm alive, and he's, there's going to have to be a relationship.
Yeah.
But now, he's graduating and all that, but we're in high school. He has probably the greatest stepdad in the world. I love him to death.
Yeah.
Anthony, and he always thought, like, you're a bigger man than I am, dude. You can put up with her and all, but we could joke like that.
Yeah.
And in front of her,
Sure.
After everything kind of, and I saw what he was doing with her or with my son. He's just such a great guy. And that's, I tell people, I feel like I counsel a lot being in the construction business because you got a lot of younger cats, kind of like you with the band.
Yeah.
They come to me. I was like, listen, buddy, 10 years from now, you're going to think completely different than what you're thinking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Willing to accept some things for certain reasons and then not others for others. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But think about that baby for a minute. Every time you think you're going to say something ugly or you're going to do something to attack her, vice versa, female or male, I said, think about that. Because I promise you there's a lot of things I'd have done differently. So with mine.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's growth. I think if we're not growing, we're stepping backwards.
Yep.
So. And
that's the beauty of watching or having your own business is watching people develop from a young age that work for you and watching them get better and better, watching their family grow, watching them be leaders in the community and all that kind of stuff. I get a lot off of that. I think it's cool. So pool business, no more?
Pool business, I do a couple. I'm doing one actually. So I used to do, most of our business was commercial. We did a lot of residential back in the day, but since 96 until probably, I guess, until about 3-4 years ago, 90% of our business was commercial, meaning, and mostly in the either HOA pools for housing communities or multifamily for apartments. We built, again, back to relationships. We built such a great relationship. My dad set a tone of caring about people because of his faith and my faith. And it's rare that we did a pool for a company that we weren't emotionally and we weren't. And I don't want to get too. I don't know how your program is, other than I'll share my faith a little bit here. Is where we would pray for these guys, and I learned that from my mom and my dad, because they struggled so long in the business. I mean, he'd been through the '80s where he had to file bankruptcy. From my understanding, I don't know what kind of bankruptcy it was, but he was basically wiped all of his debts out. But he paid every single person.
It's old school.
That dude, my dad, class act.
No.
And everybody that came in contact with him would say the same thing. So I did not live up to his expectation. No, just kidding. He gave a great example, and I only just dreamed that I could be half the man he was. But they've been through it. They struggled a long time, and he even had to take a job after doing, multi-million-dollar projects and making great money. But because of his ethics and the way he, his faith, wanted to pay back the people, he had to take another job to subsidize as a manager of a fast food restaurant. Dairy Queen, shout out. Maybe we can get a sponsor for this guy. I don't know. Everybody loves the dilly bars. So the guy, humble as they come, but once they hit that low, it was one of the best things ever, because he told my mom, he's like, look, the only way we get out of this is if God blesses our company. Mm-hmm. We cannot take it for ourselves. We have to, and I cannot tell you how fast the company made a 180. It was, and we're talking, this was, at this point, it's mid-2000s, maybe as late as 2008. But instantaneously, almost. The company went from maybe doing a couple $100,000 a year in work, gross, not net, to doing, we did $5 million, $6 million, I think, in the following years, to where, and for a small company, that from a small company, going from, only being able to make maybe 20-something thousand net to now making several $100,000 net, it's a drastic change. And for our little company, it's just me, my mom, and my dad for a long time. My sisters would come in and help, answer phones sometimes, emails, things like that. But it truly transformed our company. And so we would actually pray for the guys we did work for, and maybe not together. I know my mom and dad did together, but it truly transformed our lives and how we did business, how we approach business. But yeah, so pools, commercial.
Well, it's interesting you're saying what your father did, filed bankruptcy, went back and paid people he owed money for.
Yeah.
It's very rare. But I thought credit cards when I was young were just things you could pay whenever you want to.
Right,
run them suckers.
Super convenient.
Yeah. And I turned around and looked up one day and I'm like, oh, wow. I'm not produced enough to pay for this.
Yeah.
And I went back and just made an agreement with all of them.
Yeah.
Here I am. I can't afford what I've done, but I'll pay you. And I paid every one of them back. I mean, I probably paid triple.
Kind of like a Dave Ramsey style.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, but I just told myself, like, I could easily walk away from this at a young age, leave it alone.
Yeah.
But my way my mother raised me was,
I
would never feel good about myself. If I can't make the person around me better than me, I'm doing something wrong.
Right.
And I know it sounds weird. I'm not that type of person.
It's.
But everything I try to touch, or everything I touch, I want to be better. Yeah. I don't want to hurt nothing. You know what I mean? And I know how fragile businesses are. I mean, we're in construction. It's. I mean, we haven't worked a full week since December. And here we are almost mid-February.
Yeah.
So we're end of February, and that's rough. But perseverance and getting through all that.
Yeah.
And I've cycled through that before. I've been through smaller size, but it's doing things the right way. I feel like has gave me that next chance.
Yeah.
Or that next opportunity to grow. And then I feel like the same things are happening. Once I made that right, everything started dominoing.
Yeah.
And then I feel like it's because you're doing things the right way.
Yeah.
And faith and all.
Your ethics,
Yep.
Shine through. Yeah, I think a lot to be said for that, especially in this world we live in today, is where people make excuses left and right. Hey, can't do this because of this or because of that. And I'm not saying, I mean, I'm the worst of the bunch. I'll admit that. I will think, And why do I get them? This is ridiculous. They're gouging. Well, I agreed to it. Mm-hmm. I agreed to it, so I got to come through. And there's been after I took over for my dad on the pool business, and he retired. I ran into a lot of sticky situations where I was like, I did not bid this well enough. I did not figure that into it. There's a company, and I'm going to say the name, AMLI, AMLI, that the offices I dealt with were out of Austin, but they're all over. The group of guys they had in place there that were handling all their projects, again, relationships, everything. Those guys are above board, bend over backwards for me. I called them and it's like, hey, especially after COVID, I was like, hey, prices have gone up, man. I can't finish it for that. And they said, we know, we got you. Send us this. And, of course, when they got the sticker price, I was like, are you sure it's going to cost that? I was like, man, I will give it to you at cost, but let's make sure we finish it. Mm-hmm. And they were like, no. And they wanted to make sure I made something because they wanted me to be in business too.
Where you can keep servicing them.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, which is beyond me because as many times I've messed up on one of the projects, I'm not above. The good news is I'll always fix it and I always make sure that it gets done right. But they'd razz me and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's those relationships and that kind of stuff where I'm thankful I've built those because when I do mess up or I do not put enough money in it, sometimes like, hey, I can't pay. Well, you bid it for that. I did, and I'll find a way to finish it, but it's going to take me a little bit longer, and I apologize.
Right.
Just bear with me. And that's not their fault. That's my fault.
Sure.
And so I think that's unheard of too in the industry.
Yeah.
Honesty.
There's so many. You hear horror story, pool guys, metal building guys. You have the guys that come in and they take the. I was talking this with the first podcast guy I was talking to, and when COVID hit, you could hardly find material or get stuff on a timely. And we had to go, and we have 30-day accounts that we never even used the term hardly ever, but we had to start paying for stuff up front.
Yeah.
And I had going to clients on a $600,000 build and having to get $100,000 from them when all that stuff was going on.
Oh yeah.
And telling them, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not quite sure, but right now they're telling me 6 months.
Yeah.
I'll get windows. Well, that's the first thing in on our builds. After we get the concrete and the steel up, we got to put windows in the weatherproof.
Exactly, yeah.
And I'm like, trying to convince people, because then what really helped us is people were moving to rural America, so they wanted barn doors, they wanted this, they wanted that. They were trying to get out of the city. So we were busy, but it was the most aggravating thing because things were going up, couldn't get stuff, and you're busy.
Yeah.
But you can't perform.
Yeah.
So it was just miserable.
Speaking of windows, I'm going to go off on the tangent here, but one of my buddies used to work for this honey company. I think our mutual friend Heather's met him too. His name's Mark McGinnis. Funniest guy you'll ever meet. Back porch country jokes, just ready to go at all times. He worked for this honey company. It's called Nature Nate's Honey Company. Nathan Sheets owned it. Went to Prestonwood. Great guy. He sold his honey company, and now he's doing windows called Honey Rock or something like that. You can edit that out. I don't know if I want to put big names in here, but Honey Rock, they do like these super upscale windows and doors. And I was like, the cost of that stuff is so high. Mm-hmm. I couldn't imagine doing these custom, like you do, these custom barn doors and stuff like that require these doors. Like doors, we're talking $20,000.
Mm-hmm.
I can make one out of wood. I'm good. I'm a cheap guy. But yeah, that's crazy. This price of
and black windows were hot at that time. Everyone wanted a white or a black roof, white walls, black windows. Well, I won't do nothing but a composite window because I'm not going to put black vinyl windows in because the color's not impregnated in how they're built. So if they get a scratch on them or with vinyl,
you gotta go touch it up.
They get hot.
Yeah.
So when they start moving with that black, and there's people who still do it. I won't touch it.
Yeah.
But that was a hot thing. And some of the window leads were $6,000 to 8 months to a year.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted black. I'm like, and they're like, well, I talked to this other builder. Or my buddy over there is building a house, and they got black vinyl windows. Let's use those. I was like, nope.
I call it the Chip and JoJo effect.
Yeah, yeah. And they're in every industry, for sure.